governments need efficient and effective public procurement to provide citizens and firms with essential services like transportation, healthcare, education. Competitive procedures are the most effective way to identify the best supplier and obtain fair prices while fighting corruption. However, procurement procedures may be affected by bid rigging, which is not only a civil and in some countries a criminal offense, but also an antitrust infringement. Indeed, bid rigging is a form of cartel, that is, an unlawful agreement between competitors to increase prices. When firms collude instead of competing, they harm consumers in the short term because they impose higher prices, but also in the long term because they lower the incentives to innovate and offer better products. In the case of bid rigging, these negative effects may be even more serious. Do you agree, Despina?
Yes, I do. Consider that procurement accounts for 12% of the GDP on average across OECD countries. It accounts for an even larger share of the GDP in other countries. It's the way through which governments cover basic needs in crucial sectors like healthcare. And therefore, firms that rig tenders steal public resources and money. This is why enforcement against bid rigging is a priority with competition authorities across the world. Competition authorities can do much, both with advocacy to prevent and detect bid rigging, as well as with enforcement to punish violations and make sure they don't happen again in the future. The first step that competition authorities should consider in the fight against bid rigging is cooperation with procurement authorities, which is mutually beneficial. Since on the one hand, competition authorities can help prevent bid rigging by advising procurement authorities on pro-competitive tender design. And on the other hand, procurement authorities can help start an antitrust case by identifying and reporting suspicious possibly bid rigging behavior to competition authorities, and they can help enrich the quality of antitrust investigations by providing technical procurement insights. So the OECD has a recommendation on fighting bid rigging in public procurement that proposes concrete measures to prevent bid rigging in tenders and detect it when it happens. This recommendation includes detailed guidelines and 2 checklists. The first checklist deals with prevention of bid rigging. Basically, this is done through robust procurement rules and carefully designed tenders that reduce the risk of bid rigging happening. This checklist recommends concrete measures to promote competition and also gives examples of how to strike the right balance between procurement policies on the one hand and competition policies on the other. The second checklist deals with the detection of bid rigging. So it lists a series of suspicious conducts like prices, statements, documents, communications that may lead to asking the competition authority to step in and open a case.
Authorities can use several additional tools to detect bid rigging. The most usual detection tool is leniency. Leniency programs are widely considered the most effective tool for detecting cartel. However, in certain countries with tight economic and social relations, leniency programs may not be fully effective. In response, many jurisdictions established anonymous whistleblower systems. For example, in Hungary, the GVH introduced an anonymous contact system for providing information on cartels called the cartel chat. Moreover, it created an informant reward scheme which offers monetary rewards to individuals who provide indispensable information about hardcore cartels. Furthermore, the increasing availability of electronic data and analytical tools have fostered the development of digital cartel screens. To put it simply, screens are digital filters of procurement data that quantify the probability of bid rigging and single out so-called red flags that merit enforcement attention. It is important to note that red flags simply show probability and do not constitute evidence of bid rigging.
While performing the investigations, competition authorities should take into account some specificities that distinguish bid rigging from normal cartels. First of all, looking only at bidders might be not enough, because the collusion might involve the bidders and companies that refrain from bidding to honor a bid rigging agreement. It is also a good idea to focus the investigative efforts on the period immediately preceding the tender closing date and the submission of the bids. Second, the collusive strategy may go beyond a single tender and include other tenders held in the past or in different areas. Therefore, it is a good practice for competition authorities to expand the scope of their review and also include other tenders in which the parties were involved. Finally, suspicious patterns and behavior, the so-called circumstantial evidence, are hardly sufficient to prove bid rigging. Of course, certain signs can give good reasons for further investigation, but infringement decisions which need to withhold judicial review should be based on direct evidence of contacts between the parties. This is why it is crucial for competition authorities to seize evidence by carrying out on-site inspections, the so-called dawn raids. In conclusion, bid rigging is a key and promising area for competition advocacy and enforcement. To fully seize this opportunity, competition authorities should cooperate with procurement agencies, make full and wise use of their antitrust toolkit, and be aware of some specificities of public procurement.